Okay, so welcome to our podcast. This is a little bit different today because this podcast is a spin-off of our radio show. Okay, so I don't even know how to start because I was telling Tyler when I got here, I've interviewed a lot of people, but I'm so nervous about interviewing you. And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, one of the reasons that I met you through Walter, but what happened was you popped up in my world like a year and a half ago, and I got invited to go on a podcast, and I was doing the podcast as a guest, and your name came up, and then I got invited to go to another podcast, and I'm like, and then another podcast. I'm like, who are these people? They're inviting me. So when I go to their podcasts, you're like a guest on these people's podcasts, and your name just kept popping up and popping up and popping up. So one day I was just kind of like, I got to interview this Joe Polish guy, right? And so then Walter invites me to this charity event, and you know there's Prince Harry's there, right? Mm-hmm. You come walking in, and I see I'm like, that's Joe Polish. Holy shit. I got it. Please, Walter, introduce me. I want to meet. And I couldn't, and I was like.
The famous.
Right? I couldn't. I was like, dude, you got to come to my podcast. Can you come on? You remember that? I was like, yeah. So now here we are. So
awesome. Well, it's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here, man.
So what do you want to accomplish today?
Well, that's a great question. I want to get to know you. I want to know your story. Because here's the rule I broke, and Walter knows this. I don't like to research anybody. Whether that's maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't like to, I always looked at my interviews like I'm on a plane from Phoenix to San Diego. It's an hour flight.
Right.
You're sitting next to me. We don't know each other. By the time we land, we know all about each other. That's how I've always looked at it. Sometimes that bites me in the ass. But today, or a couple days ago, I looked you up, and I'm so mad at myself for looking you up because I got in my own head, and I was all intimidated by everything you've done.
That's interesting because I do my best never to try to intimidate anyone, which actually could be, if you're trying to posture or do a status play on people, which many people try to do, which annoys the hell out of me, then let me say it this way. The people that become my close friends that are in my inner circle, I look at people that are more powerful. How do they treat people that are less powerful than them? How do they treat servers? Do they say thank you when someone opens the door? And the interesting thing about celebrity and fame, which I don't like, I mean, I've never become famous. I mean, in the marketing world, people know who I am and stuff like that. But for the most part, like celebrity level famous, I actually think it messes with people. And I think it can oftentimes go to their head, or it could bring up some level of insecurity that could show up as arrogance, or they're just people that are narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, right. And they don't care about anyone. But I really want people to feel comfortable around me all the time, whereas some people, their way of getting things done in life is to intimidate the hell out of other people.
True. Yeah. Well, I'm comfortable around you, but I just intimidated. I got in my own head because I saw some of the people that you network with are people that I've looked up to my entire life. I mean, Tony Robbins, for one. Right? Like, I don't know the story with you and Tony Robbins, but, or you either look up to Tony Robbins or you and him have done stuff together?
Well, I like Tony, I've known him for, I don't know, I've probably met Tony, first time I met him was in the late 90s at QVC when he was pitching Personal Power.
I have that cassette.
Oh, yeah, no, I still have the original cassettes. You know what's funny about those original Tony Robbins cassettes? At the time, he was talking very highly about O.J. Simpson. They've, of course, had to edit all that out. And then Michael Jackson and all these many people that later in life had these falls or ended up having, things happen that, it's just interesting to watch over a few years and a few decades how people that are superstars oftentimes
crash.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What do you think that, I mean, given how you see what sort of common issues that they fall into?
Well, I guess I would go back to my friend Dr. Don Wood, who has that great line, if you understood the atmospheric conditions of somebody's life, it makes sense why they do what it is they do. So why does some people keep pursuing a bigger future, and how do some people fall? I mean, some of it is mental illness, addiction, oftentimes fame at a certain level can change you because it's very seductive. Let me say this. Anyone that writes a book, goes on podcasts, goes on stage, which would include all of us, I believe, and I could be wrong, that there is a level of attention that we want. We want the world to like us. We want people to like our ideas. And what normal person or abnormal would not want someone to like them in a favorable way? With that, though, there's a certain level of insecurity because let's prove ourselves. Let's get external validation. And so when people are constantly getting external validation, they start believing their own PR. And so I think the real key is if you believe your own PR, it can make you go sideways. You familiar with the actor Glenn Morshower?
No.
Okay, so Glenn, if you look him up, you'd probably recognize him because he's been in more military roles than I believe any living actor. But he's not like an A-level celebrity. He's been on all the Transformer movies. Do you remember the TV show 24 with Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah.
Okay, so I first met Glenn at Sundance in 2007, I believe it was. And he had all these people coming up to him throughout the lunch. You know, can I have an autograph? Can I take a picture? And he was super gracious, and he seemed to genuinely enjoy it. And I said to him, and it was a lot. After about the 15th person in the span of, I don't know, maybe 8 minutes, I said to him, I go, is that ever difficult? Does that ever bother you? He goes, you know, sometimes if I'm, with my wife and we're trying to eat, he goes, yeah, but he goes, I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for these people. I'm so appreciative that they like my work. And he was just a nice guy. And so I became friends with him. A couple years later, I think it was in 2009, I guess, we were both speaking at an event at the Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, big event. And I spoke first, and he watched my speech, and then he spoke after me. I watched his speech, and then we went to lunch. We ended up spending 4 hours together just talking about everything. And at that point in time, if you're not old enough, you wouldn't remember. If you are, social media was relatively new. The first iPhone came out in 2007. Facebook just became available to the public, not just universities. I think it was like in 2008. And Kiefer Sutherland, who was Glenn Morshower on the show 24, was the only other actor other than the main actor, Kiefer, who was on every single episode of 24. And he was drunk in front of the Viper Room, which is the same bar that Johnny Depp used to be part owner of, and where River Phoenix died of an overdose. And it was like that famous LA bar where there was always celebrities and lots of ODs and all kinds of crazy stuff. And he was outside of the Viper Room with his shirt off, drunk, paparazzi taking photos. It was on Us Magazine, People Magazine, National Enquirer. It was all over the news. And I said, so what's the story with Kiefer? And he goes, well, now that he's been outed, I can kind of talk about it. He said, great guy, awesome, shows up to work on time, does an amazing job, as an actor. When we're done shooting, though, it's easier for him to oftentimes sit around in the trailer and hang out with the other actors and actresses and the crew and drink than it is to go back to his mansion alone. And he said this line to me, and I took notes. He said, a single piranha won't do much damage, but a swarm of them will take down a great creature. He said, at this point, Kiefer's fame is globally inescapable. There's nowhere in the world where he can go and not be recognized. So he really never has real privacy, because wherever you go, someone notices you. And then he said the line that completely changed the way that I look at fame, the way that I pursue attention. He said, if you go into this business, meaning the entertainment business, he said, if you go into this business without knowing who you are, it will misinform you. And I was like, that's an interesting statement. So you got young child actors. Look what usually happens to them. People would say, Michael Jackson, he's so weird. He got all the plastic surgery and stuff. And I'll be like, well, Michael, and this is not for or against Michael. It's just the reality of the situation. He's the lead singer of the Jackson 5, 5 years old, famous at 5 years old. The rest of his life, he can't walk into a shopping mall, and if someone gets wind of it, there's Michael Jackson. Then all of a sudden, there's 100 people throwing themselves at him like he's the Messiah when he's a kid. How does anyone grow up with that level of attention and be like, oh, let's just be a chummy person that try? You never know. And so Shep Gordon, who is Alice Cooper's manager for now over 50 years, who I've had on my podcast, he has this movie that was made about him called Supermensch. And he talks about how he's never seen anything good come out of fame, other than you get rich and famous, right? I guess that is good. But he says the people that rise the highest fall the farthest. And so I had talked, he was Janis Joplin's manager early on, and Janis died of a drug overdose. And Janis had this line where she said, I go out and make love to 20,000 people, but then I go back to my hotel room alone.
Yeah, it's very lonely.
Yeah.
Well, for me, you intimidate me. So after reading a handful, and I stopped reading stuff about you, but the part that got me is I believe you and I, like, we grew up in the same, like, I went to Chandler High, right? You went to Dobson.
Dobson High School, yeah.
I think we graduated the same year.
86.
86.
Okay,
right?
wow.
Like, where'd you go to elementary school? Where'd you go to middle school?
Well, I grew up in different parts. I was born in El Paso, Texas. My mother died when I was 4 years old, and my father was crushed. He never recovered from it. So he lost the love of his life. And every year to 2 years, my entire childhood, we moved to different parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. And so El Paso, I went to school, went to Apache Junction, Arizona, lived in Deming, New Mexico, just different parts of the valley. But I've been in Arizona most of my adult life, except when I was 18 years old, I was a drug addict. So I went to Las Cruces, New Mexico, lived in a trailer for a couple of years just to, for one, survive, recover from being a drug addict. And then I came back to Arizona and been here ever since, and started a carpet cleaning business in my 20s. And, that's a whole story. And you can ask me anything. I mean, there's nothing I don't think, if someone asks me something that I don't feel comfortable with answering, I'll just say I can't answer that. But for the most part, I'm pretty much an open book.
So when did you go to Dobson? When did you start there?
That was, I graduated in 86. So
it was a new school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like 85,
And
45, isn't it?
82, 83, 84. Well, so let's see, 83, because I went to McCamey Junior High, which is in Tempe. And then from there, I was the first Dobson High School class that had a freshman, junior, senior, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. See, I obviously am clearly not very educated.
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at. It's like you and I, like, I grew up in New Mexico. My parents moved around. I grew up in Arizona. Like, I have the same universe kind of as you.
Were you a drug addict too?
I was not a drug addict. Okay. But
I was a cocaine addict.
No, I was not. But I just feel like when I see you speak, I'm like, damn, you're so good. Like, what was the moment? So you said you started a carpet cleaning business, but something had to happen. Somebody had to say, Joe, like, who was that? What was that moment that you were like, boom, I'm changing everything?
There was no one epiphany person. I don't know what it was, because I've thought about that a lot. And it's funny too, because I stumble a lot. I don't know the difference between a noun and an adjective. I ramble because I have ADD to a degree. So I often wish I could say things tighter and more concise at times. So
you're speaking, like you said, you're at that convention in Las Vegas speaking. So do you have a speech prepared when you're going to go speak? Like, you know what you're going to say?
Here's what I have. I have riffs that I do today, which riffs are like a musician has the riffs. You can hear certain bands, like AC/DC sounds like AC/DC, and Led Zeppelin sounds like Led Zeppelin, right? So there's different bands that have riffs. And if you learn a skill or a knowledge, I will say a lot of the same things that are fundamentals of some of the stuff I teach related to marketing, or like my latest book, which is called What's in It for Them. I actually have a riff list of all of the different chapters of the key points, and I think of things in riffs. Like a comedian has riffs. If a comedian tells a certain joke, I saw George Carlin live 4 different times. In one of the shows I went to, he was preparing for an HBO special, and he literally had his notes in front of him, and he was testing out jokes. So the more you get interviewed, the more you speak, the more you can see, oh, people like this, they don't like that. And what's really funny, and you guys will know this, having spoken a lot, there are things that you think are really important and really valuable and funny, and you'll say them to someone else, and you won't get like an amazing reaction. And other stuff that you're like, well, I don't think this is that profound, and all of a sudden people like lean in. So I never talk about, I don't have a signature speech, not because it's not a good idea. I just don't know how to do it. I am too freaking distractible to actually say the same thing in the exact way. And I do know some speakers that can deliver the exact speech with the same, PowerPoint or keynote presentation, and some that even know how to cry on cue. And I hate that because I think it's fake. It doesn't seem authentic. However, if you practice enough, because you look at actors and actresses, what is the job of an actor? It's pretending to be someone that you're not.
Right.
So it's like you can be good at delivering lines, but I'd rather be interviewed and not know any people
Right.
say, you want to give me some questions that I can ask you? And I'm like, most of the time they just don't want to do any work. But I'm like, no, just ask me anything. Like, you can ask me anything.
So how do you go from carpet cleaning to the Genius Network and networking with all these massive, successful people? That story.
Baby Jesus really loves me. I
think.
No, so, the way it started, I never intended to write books. I never thought I would speak in front of anyone. I was super shy and introverted growing up. So the thought of having to publicly put myself out there was nauseating to me. This is a true and ridiculous story. I had to give a speech in high school in a psychology class, and I used to get high every day. Back in those days, there weren't metal detectors like there are, which is so unfortunate. So much of how the world has changed. And I had to give a talk, and I was a nervous wreck. And so I got high before the talk in order to give a talk on the dangers of THC in psychology class. I was stoned giving a talk, and I was a mess, And the reason I bring that up is that the human spirit is resilient. You can be in really dark places and you can turn it around. So I'm not here to glamorize or glorify that. I mean, there's a certain level of junkie pride that you can tell war stories and all that stuff, but I was miserable if I was not high. And I was.
So why is that? Is it looking for approval from your father?
No, unresolved trauma.
From mom?
No, I mean a lot of abuse in church, a lot of abuse. Yeah, I was raped and molested as a kid, and then I was paid money not to say anything about it, and that led to a lot of just internal grief. I had no self-esteem, I had no self-worth, I didn't know who to trust. I had caretakers that, would manipulate me under the guise of God. I had some things happen in a camp that was a Catholic boys' camp.
And you're not the only one.
Oh, tons of
that's
people.
ever. You know what I'm saying? So what like isolating that? What do you? Somebody's going to listen to this, and they're going to be like, "That happened to me," and they've not dealt with that. What?
Well, it's just that he's so open about it.
I know,
too.
but
well,
what do you? How do you for somebody that's going to listen to this and has got that brewing, but has stuffed it down? What next steps do they?
Well, if I could go back,
Because it just rolled off your tongue.
Yeah. Let me say this too for anyone that obviously most people don't know who the heck I am, and they're just hearing some guy, talk about this stuff. I have an addiction recovery foundation today. I've written, 2 books on addiction recovery. I've done a tremendous amount of therapy. I've done 30-day intensives. I've done, plant medicine journeys with highly trusted people in the right environments. I've done a lot of work, and if I could go back in time, I would face my shit a lot quicker because you're sick as your secrets. You will hear that if you go to recovery groups or 12-step meetings. And I heard that saying, but I had all these secrets that left me with a lot of guilt and shame. And when you feel guilty, you regret. You feel bad about something. I feel guilty. Shame is I am bad. So the difference between guilt is you feel bad. Shame is you fundamentally feel you are bad. And so when you're in shame and you don't love, appreciate, or you may hate the vessel that is your own being, you will find all kinds of ways to inebriate that painful feeling. So addiction, as an example, is one of the ways that I dealt with my internal turmoil. Addiction, though, is a solution to pain. A lot of people view, let's attack addiction. Well, the war on drugs. Well, the war on drugs, the drugs are actually the solution. Not a very good solution. Addiction is not a good solution. It can destroy your life. But in the moment, whatever level of consciousness I was at, cocaine was a solution. Marijuana was a solution. Looking at porn was a solution. Hiring a prostitute was a solution. And so when I was paid money not to say anything when I was abused as a kid, it wired in my mind that sex is shameful and dirty unless you pay for it. So everyone into, whatever level of sexuality they have an arousal template. That's I think Pat Carnes, who's one of the top doctors on sex addiction. I have a great interview I did with him on YouTube years ago, and he was the top sex addiction doctor. I think he's the one that came up with the term arousal template. And whatever someone's into, it's their first introduction into sex. So if it was introduced in a healthy way, it completely different than if you were physically abused. So you'll see a lot of women, and I've worked with quite a few people. It's all volunteer stuff too. I'm not a therapist, so anything I'm saying, I guess I'll give a disclaimer for entertainment purposes only. There's a lot of great people out there that know how to do this. I didn't know how to interact with them. My mother died when I was 4. My father never remarried. I never saw sex as an intimate act of love and oneness. I just saw it as something shameful and something you do to get off. And so it wired in my head that sex is shameful and dirty unless you pay for it. So even though I was a cocaine addict, my core addiction was sex addiction, which is really an intimacy disorder, because sex addiction could manifest as it could be porn, it could be paying for sex, it could be having affairs, it could be exposing. There's Pat Carnes. Last time I had lunch with him, he was working on a Fulbright scholarship study of linking genetics to the way someone would act out sexually. And at that point in time, they had identified 240 different ways to act out sexually. I'm like, 200, I can maybe think of 20. But the point being, intimacy is the issue when it comes to sexual addiction. Some people, it's sexual anorexia. There's a lot of people listening to this. No one talks about this stuff, by the way, that their addiction is they can't be sexual with someone that they love. So they may love their husband, or they may love their wife, or they may love their partner, but they have a hard time being sexual with them based on, if that person matters to them. And so some people, they have a hard time having sex with someone that matters.
So they go somewhere else.
Yeah, or they look at porn, or they live in fantasy, which almost all addiction occurs in.
But in your case, I was not expecting you to say what you said, so thank you for being so vulnerable. But in your case now, did you ever confront the abusers later in life as an adult?
That stuff I don't talk about because I do know them, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and that's very difficult.
I bet.
Very difficult. I have an interview with Gabor Mate, who's this great trauma.
But how about the people that were co-addicts in that? So you confront the actual abuser, but how about the people that didn't protect you? Because there's always a circle around that.
Yeah, let me say this because I want
almost make the barrier harder, right?
Yeah. So to finish the thought I was going to say I did this interview with Gabor Mate the first time, and I asked him, I said, because here I am in an audience. I did this live at one of my Genius Network annual events, which is my entrepreneurial events. And I said, what do you do if you have to be in a situation, family member, coworker, friends, whatever, and you still have to interact with the person that raped you? The audience is like, whew. And he's like, how do you do that? There's no playbook on how to do that stuff. It depends on. So to go back to the family members and the co-addicts, there's always co-addicts in any addictive relationship. That was figured out back in the 30s when Bill W. and Dr. Bob started Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was mostly men at the time, not all men, but mostly men. And the wives, prior to AA, you were either institutionalized, you lived a life of suffering, you were thrown in jail, or you died, or you recovered, right? Those were the options back then. And they created Alcoholics Anonymous based on, what started as the Oxford group in the 1800s and Carl Jung and all this. There's a great history behind it, which is very instructional about addiction. And they created a community where people can come in. It's because of the mutual suffering, and they would admit they were powerless over, their alcoholism. And if you were to ask any of the wives or partners of the addicts back then, do you want them to stop? They would be like, oh my God, this person, if it was a husband, he's embarrassed, he can't, take care of the family. he can't keep a job, he's an embarrassment to the community, whatever the issues were, they would do anything to have the person quit drinking. And then what would happen is some of them started getting sober and they became different. And then the wives, in the case of a husband and a wife, if the husband was an alcoholic, a lot of them would start losing their shit. And they're like, why is that? Because they were addicted to the addict, right? And so they created Al-Anon. And it was a place to get support for the co-addicts. So I will have people all the time, like my wife, my husband, my son, my daughter, one of my employees, it's mostly families, but they will be like, let's fix this son. And then you sit and look at the family unit and you're like, my God, like this whole family's messed up.
Right.
So oftentimes when someone is seeking help and they want to do an intervention, what often gets discovered if the family unit is willing to work together is that they're either enabling or it's the whole atmospheric conditions of that family can often be messed up and a lot of people need help. So it's really difficult when I don't know why I have put such an emphasis on trying to do an addiction recovery foundation, because it's one of the most complex things ever. There's no easy answer, but I get tremendous...
Let's give them back. You got to give back. You got to give. In fact, that's the one thing I read about you. One of the things I read about you. What was the quote about giving and not taking?
Well, yeah, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker.
Life gives to the giver and takes from the taker.
Yeah, I even have a giver bracelet that one of my members in Genius Network, his daughter Danny made this for me last week. It says giver, and I thought it was really cool.
That's very cool.
Well, the thing that's really amazing, and you first talked about alcohol and cocaine, right? And I think you guys would have a view of, oh, that's fantastic, but then you then overlay that in the sex addiction, and that is looked at completely. It's an addiction, and it's very much the same.
You got to watch the Charlie Sheen documentary. Did you watch that?
Not yet.
You hit on all of it.
But way back in the day, I had some friends that I was. So I've had I don't know Charlie Sheen, so let me just say that. But I've been involved in certain things in the past with trying to assist him when he was off the rails. But yeah, Let me say,
but the stigma. I mean, and can you address that? Because the sex addiction, the porn, the infidelity is so rampant, and yet people have such a hard time coming out or talking about that because of the stigma that's associated with it. Like you drink too much, or you're an addict, and hey, I'm an addict, I'm going to go into rehab. Everyone's like, oh my God, high five, you're doing such a great job. But you throw that one on there, and what's your...
Yeah, there was, what was that one movie that had, I can't remember what's his name? It was about sex addiction.
Mark.
No, Mark Ruffalo or whatever.
The guy who played the Hulk?
Exactly. Him and I think Gwyneth Paltrow were in the movie, and he was a sex addict.
Oh, yeah.
I've never yet, the only movie I've ever seen, not that they're not out there, that's I may have not seen them, the only actual movie that depicts sexual addiction accurately is a movie called Shame. It's called Shame. And it's not a recovery movie. It's not a feel-good movie. It's actually quite a painful movie to watch, but they do a good job. But in the movie with Mark and Gwyneth, there's a scene where she has cancer, he has sex addiction, but he ends up admitting to her that he has sex. She's like, why didn't you tell me? Like all angry that he never confessed this to her when he was first starting to date her. He said, well, because I think it's some line that where, and I may not have this exactly right. He says, with your disease, you get sympathy. With my disease, you get judgment. And that's why people don't talk about it, because it's so many people suffer from sexual addiction, but there's a shame and there's an embarrassment, there's a stigma. And so my favorite definition of intimacy was given to me over a decade ago by, at the time, an 80-year-old gay man who devotes, I never met him in person, I just had a guy that I had helped early on in his recovery who had met this individual, and this guy was sponsoring him. And he said, you should really talk to him. He's incredibly wise. And so I had a couple conversations with him, and he gave me a definition of intimacy that I think is pretty profound. And he said, intimacy is a mutual exploration of a shared safe place. Abuse is anything that takes away the safe place. And addictions are what we do to make ourselves feel good when we don't have a safe place. So intimacy doesn't need to be sexual, but it's a mutual exploration of a shared safe place. So when we sit down here in the podcast, you're like, I want to get to know you, right? It's like, yeah, when you get to know someone and you build rapport and you feel safe with them, great. But some people, you talk to them more and you feel unsafe because there's something off, right? So dangerous people put out vibes. Safe people put out vibes. Oftentimes we misread the vibes. Sometimes we notice the red flags. Other times we don't. Sometimes we completely don't even know that yellow flags exist. And when people ignore the red flags, they don't even notice the yellow flags half the time. And then you get yourself into dangerous sort of situations. But to go back to intimacy, if someone does not feel safe in the world, they're going to look for a way to feel safe. You could be the strongest, the richest, the most famous, complete badass, 8-degree black belt, and not feel safe in the world. And go back and not feel good, so you're going to, masturbate to porn, or you're going to snort crystal meth, or you're going to gamble, or you're going to do something if you don't feel safe in the world. So ultimately, that line by Johann Hari, the opposite of addiction is connection. So addiction is a connection disorder, and whenever you're trying to scratch the itch through sex or through, social media or whatever.
Video games.
What's that?
Video games.
Absolutely. Gaming is a huge one. Cryptocurrency, day trading, it all mirrors gambling addiction. Right?
So now, can you, after going through all this abuse in your childhood, can you have an intimate relationship with somebody?
Yeah.
Like you're safe, you feel...
My partner, it's funny, my current partner is the top... life's cosmic joke. My partner is the top vaginal plastic surgeon in Arizona. And, and it's funny because early on, addicts have, oftentimes as a defense mechanism, a pretty twisted sense of humor. It's one of the ways that you deal with the pain. So I don't know if you've met many comedians off stage. Some of them are just great and awesome, friendly, optimistic people. Some of the funniest comedians are some of the darkest, depressed. I cannot tell you how many famous comedians I've met in high-level recovery groups. Right. And they're funny, though, because they're trying to transmit that pain and angst into humor. But yeah, it took years, though. So to go back to the thing, if I was early on, I would have gone into 12 steps and done the steps earlier. I would have really dealt with the pain. But, I didn't, because my level of consciousness took me to where I'm at. When I'm thinking from my higher self, which is not most of the time, and what I mean by my higher self is when I'm connected with what I think are being present, making good, honorable decisions for myself. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that one day you're going to have a better past. Mm. You got to forgive yourself. And we take our members to prisons before all of our meetings. We take our members to the Perryville Women's Prison here in Arizona on a regular basis.
Your recovery groups?
Genius Recovery, and Genius Network. We take our Genius Network members. We also started a group called Genius Youth, and we're going to start taking them to the prisons starting next year.
Kind of do a Scared Straight program with them?
No. It's actually to just sit and be present with people that their life decisions got them into where they're at. And many of the people that sit in prison are doing things that many people that are visiting them did also. They just didn't get caught.
Right. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get back to your career for a second. So how does Genius Network start?
Genius Network started in 2007. To go back to the early days, I was a dead broke carpet cleaner living off credit cards when I was in my early 20s. And I learned marketing because I needed to eat, I needed to survive. I had no intention of teaching seminars or doing it. It didn't even occur to me. I just needed business. And so I started studying marketing, and I learned a type of marketing that is called direct response marketing. That's like they come up with different terms today. But it's education-based marketing. It's using powerful sales copy, headlines, offers in order to...
Like clickbait type of back in the day?
You could use direct responses, clickbait, but I never did, clickbait, I guess I became the biggest anti-bait and switch person in the entire carpet cleaning industry. In the 1990s, after, building up my carpet cleaning business, I then started teaching other carpet and upholstery cleaners and people that do fire and flood restoration how to market their businesses, and I sold a course.
But when you said you studied it, what books did you read to study
Well, Gary Halbert was the first guy
Okay.
that he was a marketer. He ended up becoming one of my best friends, and I started studying all kinds of great marketers, especially from back in the early 1900s, like Claude Hopkins, who wrote Scientific Advertising, and Robert Collier, all these copywriters. So I was learning how to market carpet cleaning services by studying people that were in the direct mail business. And I also had to figure out how to successfully sell something nobody wants to buy. So one of my dear friends to this day, he's actually running his event at my office next month, is Dr. Robert Cialdini, who wrote the book Influence. So he's the godfather of influence. He's the OG before, there was even a term influencer, which I think is kind of funny when I look at influencers today. It's like, what are you actually influencing? So, you could be influencing nonsense. But Robert Cialdini wrote the book Influence, and that book, everyone should read that book. And what I love about Robert is the ethical use of influence. So the term clickbait, yes, you want to get someone's attention. I'll make this distinction, though. Hype used ethically, if you want to use the word hype, which usually has a negative connotation, hype used ethically is massive enthusiasm for what you're selling. Hype used unethically is lying, misleading, exaggerating, bullshitting people. So you want to get someone's attention, yes. It doesn't matter how good your product is or your service or what it does until after somebody buys it. So, you want to definitely get attention. And anything that you put in front of somebody is marketing. And if you put, only the hungriest fish are going to snap at the crappiest bait. So you got to put something that they want, not what they need. That whole find a need and fill it, that's kind of nonsense, because people need to eat healthier, but many don't. People would be, they need to have, not unprotected sex, but protected sex, but they don't. People shouldn't drink and drive, but some people do. And so it's fine to want and fill it. So people are wanting machines. They're looking for feelings. And so think of selling as influence, think of marketing as storytelling. And if you become more effective at influence, you'll be more effective at selling.
were you doing print?
Yeah,
Print ads,
there was no
direct mail?
internet back then.
Right. So that's how you would, and so you would put together a print ad and look, okay, this word, sale, free, you were using buzzwords in your marketing?
Well, my first successful campaign was I hired a copywriter, because I heard this term from Gary Halbert that said, any problem in the world can be solved with the right sales letter. And I'm like, is that true? Well, what is a sales letter? What does that mean? A sales letter has a headline. It has compelling copy. It has bullets that talk about, the reasons why someone should do business with you. It has an offer. It creates a sense of urgency by having an expiration date. Like the old sales rule, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action. Instead of doing that in selling, you do that in print. Because no matter how good of a salesperson you are, you're limited by the clock. You can only talk to so many people in a day. So what selling is when you're on the phone or face-to-face with somebody. What marketing is getting someone on the phone or face-to-face with you, properly positioned, so by the time they're talking to you or visiting your website or coming into your store, they're pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, and predisposed to do business with you. So you want to position yourself effectively in advance. What marketing is selling in advance, so that you don't have to rely on sales techniques. You don't have to be a pushy salesperson. People love to be sold, they hate to be pressured. So how do you present things? So my very first tool was a consumer's guide to carpet cleaning. I hired a copywriter. I wasn't yet making any money. All I had was this carpet cleaning business and credit cards. And so I went $30,000 in debt, because damn it, I had this entrepreneurial fantasy that I wanted to build this carpet cleaning business. And so, that shit is not trained. It's, you either got it or you don't. You're either batteries included or batteries not included.
But at this point, had you already been cleaning carpets?
Oh yeah. No,
So now-
for 2 years,
right.
Like, just not making money.
In Arizona, in the summertime?
Yes, I was
Okay.
like, the very first summer I had in Arizona, and by the way, I'm allergic to cats. So I start wheezing, and I would be going into these apartment complexes because it's the only place I could get business. I would knock on doors and say, do you have any, so they would literally pay me $20, $25, sometimes $30 per unit. Some of the apartments didn't have electricity in them, so it's like a sauna in there. And I had to run an extension cord in my portable steam cleaner until I had the money to buy a truck mount, which are the ones that are in trucks. Those are the best ways to clean carpets. But ultimately, like, I had this little portable steam cleaner to go into these apartments, and then they would pay me, 60, 90, sometimes 120 days later, and I would work my ass off. And later, after I learned how to make things work, never in the moment, but several years later, I would say to carpet cleaners, like, looking back in my early days, if you want to go broke, a way to go broke is watching TV, maybe eating potato chips or something. A stupid way to go broke is doing hard manual labor, cleaning carpets all day and paying money to do that. That's what I was doing. But I had that fire of like, damn it, I'm going to figure out I didn't want to go work for someone. I wanted to figure out how to make my business work, and I was frustrated with it. And so it's instructional to the listeners. I'll share the most profound conversation at the time that changed the trajectory of my life. Because you asked,
that's what I was asking.
What was it with addiction? I don't know. It was a variety of things. With business, this is what it was. So I had this carpet cleaning business. I'm living off credit cards. I had gotten trained. I'd gotten certified. I knew how to do a good job cleaning carpets. I wasn't doing bait and switch. I was just a caring carpet cleaner, did a good job, worked hard, just trying to make it work. And it still wasn't working. And it was so frustrating. So I was looking at getting my Series 7 license and Series 63 so I could sell stocks. Because I had a friend I went to high school that had gotten into that business, and he was doing relatively well as a glorified, salesperson over the phone selling securities that he had no qualification to talk people into doing, but he was doing that. And I'm just trying to figure out how the hell to make a living, right? And so I have a friend named Pat who called me up. He goes, I have going to go jet skiing in Saguaro Lake, which is, out here in Arizona for people that don't live in Arizona. And he's like, do you want to go jet skiing this weekend? And I, when you're broke, you have no discretionary money, So I was like, no, I got things to do. I got to work. And he's like, you sure? The guy that owns the jet skis is this multi-million-dollar real estate investor. And that piqued my interest. I'm like, oh, maybe I can go talk to the rich guy and, get some advice on how the hell to get out of this trap of my carpet cleaning business. So I decided to go, and I drive my piece of crap, truck to Saguaro Lake. And there's 2 jet skis. This rich guy, which I never remembered his name, and one of his friends, and then my friend Pat. There's 4 of us total. And I have my pickup truck, and I'm sitting on the tailgate of the truck. And I finally have a chance to sit down with this rich guy where my friend Pat and this other guy's friend were out on the 2 jet skis. And so I go, I hear you do really well in business, and I've got a small, carpet cleaning business here in Arizona, and I'm wondering if you can maybe give me some advice on some other business that I could go into because, this carpet cleaning business is probably something I don't want to do, and, it's tough business, and wonder if you had any advice. And he said to me, he goes, well, is there anyone else in your business that's doing really well? And I said, yeah, there's a couple of companies here in Phoenix that, make over $1 million a year. And, at that time, that was a lot of money to me. And, but, they've been around, they're established, and I'm relatively new and just only been doing this a couple of years. And he said, well, if there's other people that are doing well in your business and you're not, there's nothing wrong with the business you're in. There's something wrong with you. And I was like, Jesus, this is not the motivational talk I was looking for, right? And I go, well, I'm certified. I carry a lot of these companies do bait and switch advertising. I don't do any of that sort of stuff. It's just a really, tough business if you're not established. And I was just filled with excuses, but it was harmless. I thought that was the case. I thought success had something to do with how long you've been in business, which, people like 30 years experience, 1 year experience doing the same shit 30 years straight. But it's, so I said, I was just making, what I thought were excuses as to why I wasn't doing well. He goes, well, young man, and I told him, I said, I've gotten trained, I've gotten certified. I told him how long I've been in the business. And he said, he goes, you're like many people. You think the grass is always greener on the other side. He goes, if you're going to go into another industry, you're going to spend another 6 months, another year, another 2 years learning the technical skills of another business. You can go out and repeat the same bad business habits that have caused you to not be having this one work right now. And I was like, damn it, this guy won't let up on me. And he said to me, he goes, what you need to do, young man, is he goes, you need to learn fundamental business skills. He goes, because once you learn how to make a business work, then you can take that to any other business you decide to go in the rest of your life. And, you know, so I can tell you about other businesses that you can maybe go into, and that may be an answer. You might get lucky, but for the most part, you know, you're not having success in business because of what you know and what you don't know. It has nothing to do with the business you're in. And I was like, what the hell? And so I drove home that night, and I was really sunburned. That's one thing I remember. And I was thinking to myself, I've got a lot of personal problems. You know, just a few years prior, I was, you know, a drug addict, and I was a hard worker. I was young. I had enthusiasm. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I was like, I live in America. It's, you know, for the most part, a free country.
Did he give you anything specific or?
No. He gave me, what he gave me was the insight to quit blaming my circumstances on anything other than myself.
That was the shift.
Oh, okay. Huge shift. The epiphany was, I am not going to get out of this business until I figure out how to make it work. And it became a game. All of a sudden, the business I hated, that I was trying to figure out how to escape, became a lab rat experiment for me, saying, I'm going to learn how to make this business work, and I'm not going to get out of it until I use it as a testing ground.
And that's when you hired the copywriter.
That's when I had the mind shift change, and then I started reading books from a different lens. It's like a new pair of glasses. Right. There's a great book on, you know, for people in recovery, a new pair of glasses. That was this old timer.
Chuck Chamberlain.
What's that?
Chuck C.
Yes, Chuck. Yeah, exactly. And it's a great frame though. Like, you know, does the world change, or does your view of it? You know,
so you took responsibility and then you sought.
Yep. And I started becoming a voracious reader, and I was cleaning carpets all day.
That could be universal for anybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Like personal responsibility and.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, too, though. Part of it along my search, though, is I had a friend give me a newsletter on direct response marketing written by Gary Halbert. And that is what really opened my eyes, is that any problem in the world can be solved with the right sales letter. So I started studying this, and I learned, well, how do I get a sales letter written? So I hired a copywriter to write my very first sales letter, which was called A Consumer's Guide to Carpet Cleaning. And I spent 30 days talking to this guy, multiple phone conversations, paid him $1,800 that I had to get on my credit card because I didn't have $1,800. It seemed like all the money in the world to pay someone $1,800 to write a letter. But it was like a small consumer awareness guide. It was 11 by 17 paper, folded in half. It ended up being about 10 pages. And it said, Consumer's Guide to Carpet Cleaning was the headline, title of it. Then it had bullets that said, read this guide and discover, because it didn't say read this guide and learn. People don't want to learn things. They want to discover things. That's marketing. So read this guide and discover. 8 mistakes to avoid when choosing a carpet cleaner. 6 costly misconceptions about carpet cleaning. Crawling critters and crud, a guide to the slime, grime, and livestock that's seeping, creeping, and galloping through your carpet. How to avoid 4 carpet cleaning ripoffs. The difference between value and price. How to get your carpet cleaner to 100% guarantee their work. There was another one there, but I can't remember. Then they would open up the guide, and it said, Dear homeowner, choosing a carpet cleaner isn't easy. Why? Because you're bombarded with confusing claims, simply bad information, near worthless methods, unqualified technicians. How do you ever find a qualified, competent carpet cleaner? You start by reading this guide, and then, you know, and you'll learn blah, 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 same things I just said. I repeated it.
Were you shoving that in mailboxes?
Oh, yes, yeah. But then it said, and with this information, you can make an informed, intelligent decision. And that's the key. People don't want to make an uninformed, idiotic decision. They want to make an informed, intelligent decision. Because if someone wants what you're selling or needs what you're selling, the only thing that stands in their way of getting it, if they have the money, is fear. And if you remove the fear, they will buy. Even if they don't have money, if someone really wants something, they will figure out how to get it. That's where credit comes in. People will even steal. People will kill to get the things they want.
Did it work right away?
Well, no, not right away, but it worked pretty well. So you were saying direct mail. So what I started doing, once I had the guide, I then needed to figure out how do I distribute that guide, because a lot of it is just distribution. So you may have the best book in the world, the best whatever in the world, you may be the best in the world, but there's no relationship between being good and getting paid, unfortunately. There's a big relationship between being good, being a good marketer, and getting paid. So I had to crack the code on how do I get people to read it? How do I get people to request it? So instead of running back then I would call name, rank, serial number, name of the company, what you do, and your phone number, because there were no websites, there were no social media, there were no QR codes back then. Smartphones did not exist. This was literally 1992. Yellow Pages, yeah. Valpak, money mailers, postcards, direct mail, local TV advertising, newspaper ads, Penny Saver. Remember Penny Saver? And so
everything about radio. Come on, man.
No, I did radio too. Okay. I did radio. It's funny too. Like I did some radio in Phoenix, and Phoenix is a big area, and I lived in, I had a place out in Chandler, and I was getting calls from people out in Glendale, and I realized, you kind of got to identify the target markets, because if you're a one-person operation, you don't want to drive an hour to go clean someone's carpet. And there was no GPSs back then. We were using Thomas Guide maps to figure out how to drive, So what I did was I started advertising the Consumer Awareness Guide, and I would, I would run ads that would, request a free guide to carpet cleaning, 4 reasons, to hire a carpet cleaner, and I list those and then say, and if you want more information, request this consumer guide to carpet cleaning. So what's funny is that prior to having that consumer guide to carpet cleaning, people would call me up and they would say, how much do you charge? And I would talk to them. And sometimes it'd be 20 minutes on the phone. And half the time they were like, let me talk to my husband and I'll call you back. Because it was, 90% of the time it was a female that was making the decision, because guys are often slobs and they don't think about the cleanliness of their carpet like a woman does. And so I hated that they would call me up and ask how much you charge. And then it occurred to me, when someone says how much you charge, it's because they have no other criteria on how to make a buying decision. They're just trying to figure out, how do I get one of these things, or how do I hire you? So if you don't have a system for selling what it is you're selling, you're always at the mercy of the consumer system for buying, which is always, they all have a system. It's called price. How much does it cost? So this applies to dating. If you're running a singles ad, this applies to getting a job. If you're trying to get a job, how good of a job are you marketing yourself? If you have a podcast and you're promoting a podcast, what is the messaging? Who is it for? How well are you, you want a message to market match. And so, and by the way, there's this really smart marketer who's kind of a curmudgeonous guy named Dan Kennedy, who for years, I would speak at all his events. He would speak at my events. We had several niche businesses together where I would take my marketing program and he would write the ads and promotions for it, because after I built the largest training organization in the world for carpet cleaners, within a span of 3 years, I was the most well-known person in the entire world in the carpet cleaning industry. I'd been chosen, now this never got me dates in bars or anything, but I was on the cover of a magazine called Clean Facts Magazine in 1997, voted by the industry. It wasn't paid for PR. It surprised the hell out of me. But I had impacted so many people because I would write articles for the magazines every month. I put out so much free information. And what I learned is make your advertising valuable. So when someone requested a consumer guide to carpet cleaning, even if they never hired me, I taught them how to make how to hire a carpet cleaner. And people would call me and say, they would say, I'd like to get your consumer's guide to carpet cleaning, but I want to have my carpet cleaned tomorrow. And I was like, okay, so back then there's no email, there's no website I could send them to. I'm having to do all this through direct mail. So I was like, how do I handle this? So I created a consumer awareness message. So I spent $20 a month, and I had a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week free recorded message. And I started running ads that said, warning, don't call any carpet cleaner until you listen to this free recorded message. Call anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and learn 7 questions to ask a carpet cleaner before you invite them into your home, and how to avoid 4 carpet cleaning ripoffs. So I started running those ads. I started stamping the back of all my business cards, warning, don't call a carpet cleaner until you listen to this free recorded message. I put it on the back of my van and the side of my van with a magnetic, I would go literally magnetic, warning, don't call any carpet cleaner until you listen to this message. And people would take down that phone number. And to this day, everyone's so excited. I own a VR company. I would right before this podcast, I was on the phone with Nanea Reeves, who has a VR company called Trip. Keanu Reeves is her cousin, and I'm involved with some pretty technological stuff. I have investments in over 35 different companies, AI companies. Everyone driving has a freaking phone on them, and sometimes they're not going to type in your social media handle or your website or a QR code, but they will call a phone number. And so I tell anyone that's in service businesses, put a free recorded message. Warning, don't call a plumber till you listen to this free recorded message. If you're looking for a home and you want to know how to buy in Phoenix, call this 24-hour free recorded message. It still works, but people get so bored. They want new. And what marketing is applied psychology. What Steve Jobs said, and I remember this because I remember dirty jokes and quotes. He, in 1997 at the Worldwide Developers Conference, he said, we focused first on the user experience, then we focused on the technology. So technology is important, but psychology is infinitely more important. Now today, you can create consumer awareness guides. You could take what it is I've said on this podcast and you could feed it into Grok, or you can feed it into Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever, and have it map out a consumer awareness guide for any business that someone's in. But if you don't understand the psychology of why this matters, you're probably not going to even place significant, because what I just described here, for anyone that's a business owner, has made several $1 billion for all the clients I've taught this stuff to. Bill Phillips, who built EAS, the sports supplement company, I was his marketing consultant for 13 years. That book, Body for Life, exists because of the work I was doing with him. I gave him an idea to donate money to the Make-A-Wish Foundation back in the 90s. He became the single largest individual contributor in the history of the world. He was running free recorded messages. I became Richard Branson's largest fundraiser. This doesn't have to be done for business. It can be done for causes. Education-based marketing works. But the biggest problem people have with marketing is they underestimate the value of the importance of it. So they associate marketing with some scummy salesperson or some scummy marketer, and there's many. I really have a love-hate relationship with the people in the marketing business, because the entire pandemic was marketing used in the wrong way in the form of propaganda and lies. And so people, rightfully so, do not trust many marketers, because there's many that are just simply unethical, and they use methodologies and techniques in order to manipulate people or sell people garbage. But if you have something really valuable and it really helps people, you are doing yourself a disservice if you do not use every form that's legal, ethical, and effective in order to highlight what it is you do and how you do it. And it can't be about you. It has to be about them. Brand building. So much brand building is such a load of horse shit. It's like personal brand, build a personal brand. If you do good work, you're going to build a personal brand for doing good work. Some of the best marketing in the world is not an ad or a promotion. It's actually a really good product that people really get value out of, and then they tell other people about it. So, I have a different view of marketing than a lot of marketers. I would be broke had I not learned marketing.
But your pre-recorded message, that's it. It's not leave a message at the end of the tone. Call a number. It's going to give you information, and it's going to hang up.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
The way that I had it is, so my first free recorded message started, and there's many iterations of it. I still have people all over the world that use my free recorded message, because in the 90s, every major city in the United States had one or multiple versions of my free recorded message inspired ads running in every phone book. We licensed my materials to pest control, heating, air conditioning, printers, painters, florists, jewelers, auto sales, hair and nail salons. Did I say pest control? So I had 10 other industries that were using this the one for my carpet cleaning business said, hello, my name is Joe Polish. I'm the owner of, and I had two different companies I owned. One was called Superior Carpet Care. The other one was FiberTech. I sold those companies years ago. And unfortunately, one of the people that I sold the company to, John Del Favreau, he had a weird last name. He ended up ripping me off. I didn't know how to sell a company back then, so I let him pay.
You had to learn.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never said the guy's name really, because it's like, whatever. His punishment is his own existence. But it's people that rip you off, that is their punishment. I mean, when people are unethical, whenever you take from someone, you think you're getting away with it. karmically, you're never getting away with
Good.
anything.
I'm glad you believe that. I believe that too.
So, yeah. So,
And then how did you then segue into Genius Network? How was that just was that a natural?
No, definitely not natural, but I'll tell you the transition. But let me finish the thought on. So the first free recorded message was,
You said, my name's Joe Polish.
My name is Joe Polish. Welcome to this free recorded message, which is going to, teach you how to choose a carpet cleaner. If all you're looking for is a cheap brush the dirt off cleaning, then I respectfully ask you call another carpet cleaner. But if you want to know how to get the most thorough cleaning ever, or it's free, then listen to the rest of this guide. So I would say the headline in the beginning, the most thorough cleaning ever, or it's free. And I would position that, but then I would go fully into kind of like a sponsorship at the beginning of a podcast, right? You do a little commercial and then you share the information. And so I said, at any point in time, if you would like to talk to us live or schedule a call, press 0. So while they were listening to it, we gave them an option. And then I had people that were air duct cleaners. They did, other services, and there would be a menu where press 1 if you want water damage, press 2 if you want air duct cleaning, press 3 if you want janitorial services. So there could be a decision tree, right, back then. And sometimes it was leave a message if you'd like us to call you.
But you're
back.
saying that methodology still works today. It's the best one.
But what about
it's one of them.
What about price points? Is it in a low cost commodity business, or it spans kind of the universe?
Doesn't matter. No, actually, the higher price you are, the more you tell, the more you sell. Do you want to know the formula for how much you charge for something?
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, how much do you charge for that? All right, so this is the formula for how much to charge for anything. Louis Vuitton purses, Rolexes, coffee, asphalt repair, whatever. The formula for how much you charge for something is based on your ability to sell it. Which is true. So the more effective you are at selling something, the more you can charge. Like, we're all wearing watches right now. So there was a book, what was it called? The Experience Economy, written in I think 1999 by Joseph Pine as one of the authors, and I can't remember the other dude's name. And they were talking about, remember Starbucks back in the 90s? Like when it was really new. Howard Schultz, who was an employee at Starbucks, then he ended up buying the company, and he was in Italy, and he saw like the baristas, and he saw the social aspects, and decided to, transplant, Italian, like the model of coffee and into America, and now they're one of the largest drug dealers in the world. So he took a 2-cent commodity, and he changed the name of packaging from small, medium, and large to, I really don't go to Starbucks.
Right.
So
to venti something.
Tall venti grande or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he changed it, right? And then he took a 2-cent commodity, and prior to Starbucks, you could go into the Four Seasons and maybe have expensive coffee. Every once in a while, you'd have a coffee house. But, you got Folgers Crystals. You go to Denny's restaurant. You're paying 50 cents, $1 back then for a cup of coffee. He figured out how to charge $2 to $5 for a 2-cent commodity because he packaged it differently. So good marketing is unique packaging. And so what he learned is that he could have sold coffee for $2 and $3 and massively expanded the market because the margins were so high, but he still maintained a high price point because there's a concept called pride of spending. And I did my very first general marketing program was with a audio company called Nightingale Conant. At the time, they were the largest audio learning company in the world. And so I did a program for them called Piranha Marketing, which is my parent company, Piranha Marketing. The 7 success multiplying factors to dominate any market you enter. And I tell this, they still sell that on Audible, but it's over 20 years old, right? And so what I talk about with pride of spending is there's a segment of the population that does not feel psychologically good unless they pay the most amount of money for something. So back then, there were no Apple Watches. So if someone paid $100 for a Timex, they're buying a watch to tell time. If you're paying 10 grand for a Rolex, are you really buying a watch or are you buying status? Now, people will logically explain that they're buying a watch because how do you justify you need to spend $10,000 to know what time it is?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right.
So Louis Vuitton purses, Mercedes, all very high exclusive brands, Richard Mille. Like I'm wearing a Swatch right now. Someone gave me a Richard Mille watch as a gift. It's expensive watches.
Right.
So I don't like expensive stuff though, because to me I think it's dangerous, because someone could want to cut your arm off to get your damn watch, and this is an easier watch to put on.
But there is quality,
of
right?
course.
I mean,
Well, no, but here's the thing. It's what you're into. I'm not here to tell. So if you love watches or Mont Blanc pens or, Italian shoes that cost $3,000, more power to you. If you create value in the world, quit making excuses as to why you want what you want. People are constantly apologizing for what. The only time, let's take the term give back, right? I believe in giving. I don't like the term give back, though, because I understand what it means. And even when you say it, and I even use it once in a while in a certain context, it's coming from good intentions. It's like I've had great things happen. I have, whatever. I've had a blessed life. I'm not laid up in a hospital. I'm not born in a war-torn country.
I know why you don't like give back.
Well, no, tell me.
What? Because it insinuates that you were taking.
Exactly. Yeah, if someone says, like, if I took your shoes, I should give them back.
Right.
But if I've not taken anything, what is there to give back? So I'm all for giving. I just don't like being guilted into giving back. And by the way, the stuff I do for addiction recovery, people constantly give me compliments and say, it's so great what it is you're doing. And I will say, look, yeah, maybe it is, but it's not because I'm some philanthropic angel. Like, it helps me with my recovery. Mm-hmm. If you want to feel better in life, go help people that are hurting. Whenever I'm depressed, if I get all sucked into my problems, my issues, then I don't pull out of it. But if I can go put that effort and energy, which as hard as it sounds, when you're so depleted, sometimes like, oh, you have to go pay attention to someone else. But one of the keys to being a great giver is you also have to be a giver to yourself. It can't be a one-way street where you're constantly bleeding yourself.
So giver to yourself in what way?
You have to take care of yourself. Yeah, you sleep. Right. If someone gives you a compliment, don't brush it off. Try to take it in if it's sincere. If it's flattery, you can be nice and they're kind of blowing smoke up your ass. But for the most part, flattery even works for most people because people like being complimented.
Is your dad still around?
No, he died when he was 73 years old in 2002, and I was his primary caretaker for a year, last year of his life.
Did he see any of the success you had?
Yeah, he was
It's crazy.
He was proud of it, and my father we had a tough relationship. Yeah, because my father unfortunately didn't have a lot of the resources that I sought out and that were available now back then. He really lived a pained life, and he never. He was a hard worker though, and
did he see Genius Network, or he saw the success of you selling the carpet business?
Just the carpet business.
When did Genius Network start? 2009.
2007.
2007.
Yeah. So to answer your question, how did I go into Genius Network? So when I started creating kits for carpet cleaners, I started going out and speaking about it, and then presenting I would do these one-day events called How to Double Your Business in 6 months or less, and then I would offer my marketing program that I was selling for $497 for a basic package and $597 for a gold package. And
so you were just like a Tony Robbins.
Yes, except in the carpet cleaning niche, because the carpet cleaning industry could not afford the talent of a Tony Robbins. So whenever you go into a particular niche, there's always opportunity. So when people are trying to go to the general market, so there's a couple of young people that are sitting here, right? We have my friend Justin and Madeline Butcher, and he has a new podcast, and this is for like anyone to better themselves in different areas of life. And he interviews all kinds of really smart people. And if he just did that podcast for financial advisors and it became just about them, it would take on a whole different meaning. But it's really hard to niche things if you're A, not in the niche, B, if you don't come from that niche, C, if you don't have an affinity with that niche. So my friend Dan Sullivan, who I've been doing a podcast with since 2012, I've been in his. He started a company called Strategic Coach, and he's in Genius Network. I'm in his group. We're great collaborators.
Is he an author? He sounds.
Oh yeah,
that name sounds familiar.
Over 40 books.
Okay, I feel like I met his daughter.
They don't have kids.
He doesn't have.
No.
Well, that sure sounds familiar.
But Dan. What the hell was I going to say about him? Now I lost my train of thought. Let me think.
You speak in his groups, he speaks in your groups.
Yeah. It was something to do with niches, though. Oh, okay, I know what it was. Who do you want to be a hero to? So he has this great line where if people are trying to find themselves and you're frustrated with your business, you're frustrated with your job, there's always going to be frustrations. Like for business owners, what a business is solving problems for a profit. If there's no problems in the world, there's rarely any business. You know, there's businesses that make money by not solving problems, but I could look at almost every business. We're sitting on a couch. The people that make this couch, the problem is if we didn't have any place to sit that was comfortable, where would we be sitting? We'd be sitting on the floor. We'd be sitting on some uncomfortable chair, but we have we're talking into a mic right now. If there were no mics and there were no cameras and there were not, like, how would we distribute this stuff, right? So if you break your foot, that sucks. But if you are able to go to a doctor, that helps, right? So other people's bad news is your good news. So almost all money in the world is made transforming other people's bad news into good news. So if you are an unethical marketer and you promise that you're going to solve a problem and you get money from people, you take money from people, and then you don't deliver something that has a reasonable or preferably a more than reasonable chance of helping them solve their problem, then you're taking advantage of somebody. And so I look at everything through the lens of what are the problems that need to be solved. So with my carpet cleaning, I niched it, right? So I went into the I just sold marketing for carpet cleaners, but I did it because I had success in my own company doing it. Like I discovered that I had an opportunity to teach other people how to solve a problem that I solved for myself. So I understood what kept them up at 3 a.m. I used to have this visual of like, if you could imagine someone you're selling something to and they need to hear or buy or utilize what you have figured out because it will change their life. It will help them. And what keeps someone up at 3 a.m. with bile coming up from their esophagus because they're so fucking stressed out, and you happen to have something that can give them direction, confidence, capability, and clarity that could help them in some area of their life. And if you have it, how do you communicate that it's available to them? And if you got it to them and they used it and it would transform their life. So the way I got into the business goes back to that consumer awareness guide and the 24-hour free recorded message. So I'm attending an event in Colorado for a carpet cleaning association. And I had volunteered to be the Arizona director of the Carpet and Fabric Care Institute is what it was called. Volunteer work just so I could hang out with people that were twice my age that knew more about running a business than I did. And so here I am at this event just trying to, learn stuff from another association because I was the Arizona director of this other association. So I would go to all these learning events. One thing about me, I'm always trying to learn, read, put yourself in proximity of people that know more about something than I did. Still do that to this day. Never too cool for school. People that are too cool for school are morons. I mean, they just think they know everything. So I was at this event, and we're in this guy's speaking. He was a bigwig in the carpet cleaning industry back then, and he was like teaching seminars and all this stuff. And he had his name was Matt Clark, and he said, 40% off is the best way to get business. And here I was running free recorded messages, and people weren't even calling me based on price. They were, they would listen to my free recorded message, and then they would call up and say, when can you book the job? Because the free recorded message got them pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, and predisposed to do business with me. It was no longer about price. So the reason I said prior to spending, does this go to the low end or high end? If it's especially high end, the more that you educate and build rapport, the better. Apple didn't just start selling, $1,000 or $1,500 iPhones. Louis Vuitton didn't start just selling $3,000 purses. They had to build a particular reputation. The average small business owner, especially in carpet cleaning, doesn't have the advertising budget of Coca-Cola or Apple or some of these big brands, so they have to do other things. And what we do is we build rapport with people by educating them, guaranteeing our work, doing a good job, that sort of stuff. And so so here I was at this event, and this guy says 40% off. I raised my hand. I have long hair and a ponytail back then, and I said, I'm doing this thing with free recorded messages, and I don't price discount my services at all. I just have people call a free recorded message, and I teach them what they need to know about carpet cleaning, and they end up, just wanting to hire me because I tell them everything that they need to know and what's the difference between, and he goes, well, young man, if that works for you, that's fine, but we know that 40% off is the best offer you can make, and just totally shunned me while I'm sitting in this event. And, I was like, all right, whatever. And during the break, two guys come up to me. They're twice my age. And they're like, you were talking about, what's that free recorded message thing you're talking about? And I said, I paid a copywriter $1,800 to write a consumer awareness guide for me. And I paid him another $250 to turn that consumer awareness guide into a free recorded message. If you pay me $250, I'll send you the whole script to the consumer awareness guide and the free recorded message that has cost me over $2,000. Just pay me $250, which is what I paid him to write to turn the consumer awareness guide into a script, and then report back to me the results. One guy's name was Don DeLue. The other guy's name was Andy Gallagher. The reason I remember their names is they ended up becoming clients of mine once, within a year and a half, I'm off to the races. So Don DeLue literally is getting ready to run a half-page phone book ad in the Denver phone book because he lived in Golden, Colorado. And he's like, can I do a phone call with you? And I go, sure. So now, as I do a phone call, he goes, I'm running a half-page ad. I don't know what the hell it was costing him. He goes, and it barely breaks even. Sometimes I lose money, but I've been doing it for years. And he goes, would you run a free recorded message in the phone book? And I said, yeah. Put warning, don't call any carpet cleaner till you listen to this free recorded message. Run it as an in-column ad. I took him from a half-page phone book ad down to an ad smaller than the size of a business card. It quadrupled the response he was getting in the yellow pages. And off of I charged him $250 for the free recorded message script and the consumer guide. And he was paying, he went from paying, I don't know, like several thousand or a couple thousand. I don't know
Yellow
what it was.
Pages back in the day was a lot.
It was only $250 a month is what it cost him. From that free recorded message ad in the Yellow Pages, way back then, he ended up doing $62,000 in business that first year.
Wow.
And at that point, I was like, I could probably package this stuff up and sell it to other carpet cleaners. And so that's what I did. And he was my very first client. The other guy, Andy, didn't do jack shit, which is normal. A lot of people buy your stuff, they shelve it, they don't read the books, they don't do anything. Until 2 years later, when I was like now this big, then he bought my whole course. And he ended up, and then I started Platinum, which is a $1,000 a month program. And I started coaching people in 1998, and it was a $247 a month coaching program called 2X+1. We would teach them how to double their business and how to take an extra day off per week. And then in 2001, like Bill Phillips, the Body for Life author, had given me a convertible Jaguar because I helped him make millions of dollars. And I had this Jaguar I was driving around, and I wanted to do a contest for entrepreneurs because I had helped him with his physique transformation Body for Life contest. And but I was like, after I drove the car around, I was like, I need to turn this into some sort of PR event. I don't know what. So I came up with a Better Your Best contest. And I was going to give away my car, this car that he had bought me, to whoever did the best job of taking a 3-month period from the previous year and a 3-month period of the current year. And they could either enter, systemizing your marketing or advertising or increasing your net or gross profit. And they had, I created a whole contest around this with rules and regulations.
To your clients?
To my carpet cleaning clients. And then I announced it. And you can't give away prizes. Back then, laws change on this all the time, but you can't just like charge someone to be part of something and give away prizes because you're running a lottery.
Right.
But if you do a spokesperson contest where they win the spokesperson that could happen to come with prizes, vacations, whatever, that's how you could actually do it. So what we did is I put that car up and I launched a program called Platinum Plus, $1,000 a month, or $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, or if they pay in full, $10,000. And I announced it, and only 3 people signed up, which the car was worth $80,000. And I was like, this is not going to work because that's what I thought. But we took a month and we called everyone that had attended that event, and we ended up getting 35 people to join the first year. And that was my platinum group.
So did they get conference calls with you?
Yeah, monthly conference calls.
With everybody on one call?
Yeah. Everyone on one call, and then we would meet quarterly for a day at a time. And then after a couple years of that, we started meeting 3 days, 2 days at a time. So today, Genius Network is an example. They come to 3 meetings a year. 2 of them are 2 days at a time at my office. We do them almost monthly at my office.
From all around the country?
All over the world.
All over the world.
I mean, yeah, this last week we had people from Dubai, Australia, Netherlands, many from Canada.
Do you have a number? Like how many people are in the program?
A couple hundred right now. Between my 35K group, which is Genius Network, and between my 100K group, we have over 200 members.
And are the names businesses we would know, we would recognize?
Yeah, some.
Are you allowed to share those names?
Yeah. Chris Voss, the top former international FBI hostage negotiators in my 100K group.
Oh, I think I've had him on my show before.
Have you? Yeah.
He was on the, I had him in the studio. I'm almost positive. He lives here, right?
No, he lives in Vegas.
Oh, he might.
But
I'm almost positive I had
Do you know Tommy Mello, who's here with A1 Garage?
Oh, I want to talk to that guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's in my 100K group. Dan Sullivan's in my 100K group. Cameron Harold from 1-800-GOT-JUNK is in Genius Network. 28% of the members are women. We have some incredible members. People can look it up online.
That's fantastic. What a story. You know what? Talking to you and hearing everything, whether you like it or not, you are a public figure, right?
Yeah, to a degree.
I feel that
hopefully more people like me than dislike me.
Well, one thing, I know we're sort of short on time, but a fascination that I have is your ability to make connections with people and build a network. Mm-hmm. Can you kind of walk us through how you do that from I don't know this guy to where I've just met him? What are the things that you do? Because everybody wants to build a bigger network, so walk us through what works and then what doesn't. And I know a lot of stuff is in your book, but
yeah. So part of it, I wrote a whole book called "What's in It for Them." So it starts with asking the question.
I bought that book.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Have you read it yet?
I'm halfway through it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a slow reader. I'm reading 5 books right now.
I am. Well, yeah. I'm the same way.
But I've been reading the same 5 books for about 10 years. I just added your book now, so now I'm reading 6 books.
That's fine. I have it on Audible too. I recorded it in my voice. So that's the question. What's in it for them? So you want to position things so that it is not about you, but it's about them. There's that famous Zig Ziglar line, you can get anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want, with the caveat that you can help some people get what they want that not only won't do a damn thing for you, they won't appreciate you and they will abuse you. So part of it is aligning yourself with people that are aligned with you. So making connections is, if I could go back in time, be a giver, but be selective on people that actually are ethical, people that always lead first. But if people do not reciprocate, meaning they violate the Dan Sullivan referability habits, show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, finish what you start, and say please and thank you. If people do those things, then I'm all for, I don't like people that don't appreciate services of others. I don't like people that don't utilize when you give them something useful. I don't work with anything or anyone that isn't ELF, easy, lucrative, and fun, versus hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. So I only want ELF people in my life, not half people. So I always put everything through, is this project, this person, this strategy, easy, lucrative, and fun, or is it hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating? Definitely has to have integrity, has to be ethical, has to be aligned.
Have you ever denied anyone in the group?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Because, do you tell them why, or is it your own decision?
Yeah. There's one time where I actually screamed at someone to kick him out of the group because he was such a horrendous, narcissistic asshole.
Like they were in the group, in the meeting, they had paid.
Well, I didn't yell at him in front of everyone else.
Right, but you said you need to get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
And refund them, or is it just
And I recently gave one person their money back because I looked at all these Better Business Bureau complaints. And there were and I heard this person's story explaining it, but after digging deeper into it, I'm like, you're not gonna excuse this one away. I mean, there are large companies where people attack them. Mm-hmm. And if you're gonna do anything of size, I mean, even Mother Teresa got hate mail. Mm-hmm. However, there's a point where it's like, You look at the reputation. So what Genius Network is it's a connection network. I don't call it a mastermind because way too many masterminds have been polluted by idiots that are unethical, calling them mastermind groups. And a mastermind is a dialogue. It's not a monologue. So a lot of masterminds are like speakers speaking. That's a seminar. That's not a mastermind. And so we do masterminding in the event, but it's a connection network. So to your question, how do you connect people? Just be useful, be grateful, be generous, look for what do they need solved. Don't just say to someone, how can I help you? Actually do a little bit of thinking and be like, just help them. One way to help them is if you don't have anything to offer them, give them money. If you don't have any money to give them time, attention, effort, and energy, only to the degree that you are actually helping them, not being annoying. When you're young and you don't know what the hell you're doing, my friend Dave Kekich, who spent half his life in a wheelchair, he's, enthusiasm covers many deficiencies. Be a likable person, figure out, it's so easy today to find things about people and companies. Freaking, do an AI search, right? But really don't just do a summary on AI 5 minutes before you meet someone and then pretend you actually know anything about them. Like, if you're trying to get a job, as an example, and you have skills that can produce a result, sales skills are always valuable because there's rarely few companies out there that don't want more business, right? Mm-hmm. So if you offer to just work for free for a period of time, improve yourself, and then saying, if I can produce the result that you're paying other people to do, then you can offer me a position. And if not, then you won't. Now, if you don't have any money and you have to pay the rent next week, you may not be able to do that. But the thing is, you can work, there's this whole don't work hard, work smart. The real thing is work hard on smart things. Work hard with smart people. Don't just, don't work hard, work smart. I don't know anyone that even ELF, easy, lucrative, and fun. It's often very hard in the beginning to build an ELF business. You have to build a foundation. You get paid in the beginning for what you do. If you get really good at what you do, you then get paid for who you are. And a lot of people rest on their laurels because they get paid more for whoing than whatting. But never, if you're really skilled and you become famous because, you can be Richard Branson and not say anything. You're still going to have someone give you, $500,000 to show up and talk in an event because he's Richard Branson. However, and I've interviewed Richard more than most people in the world. I spent 6 weeks of my life on Necker Island, and I've also interviewed people that are infinitely more valuable with what they share than what Richard does about business, but they don't hear it because they're not Richard Branson. And so part of it is listen to what the person has to say, what sort of skills they have, and then and lead them into what it is that they want. And oftentimes, you just can simply ask them, what do you need solved right now? If you could wave a magic wand and have something happen, what's some pain that you want taken away that if you would really love if someone just came and handled something for you? And if you're a person that can do that, handle it for them. And, because think about all the people that are you're going to get, how many text messages or phone calls do you think you'll get the rest of the day?
Hopefully not a lot. I mean, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5?
4 or 5. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the day, but let's say in a whole day, how many?
I don't know, 15, 20?
Okay, yeah. So I on average get over 100 to 200 a day.
Jeez.
Now, granted, I'm able to do that because that's my cockpit. I know how to navigate relationships. That's just me, though. Some people, it would drive them bananas.
I had 100,000 unanswered emails.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm a little, I'm a little different that way.
Yeah, no, so here's the point. You look at everyone that texts you, you either get woo or you get ah. Because what people want is more woo and less ah. And if you're a person that could add woo to some people's lives, not everyone, but you need to know not only who to attract, but who to repel. Because good marketing doesn't just attract who you want, it repels who you don't want. I am not all things to all people. Genius Network, most people that come to my group, as an example, there's famous people. Like last year, I sold the event out 3 weeks in advance, and I didn't even tell anyone that I was having Tucker Carlson, Jordan Peterson, and Bobby Kennedy come and do interviews with me. They're the first post-election interviews that all three of them had done. Then I brought them to my 100K dinner and did a panel for everyone. We recorded it, but we never distributed that video. But I put the other videos up on YouTube, and I surprise people. I wow people. I exceed their expectations. So I'm always trying to one-up myself. But if you go back in time, I was a drug addict. I didn't know how to talk to anyone. I was scared to ask anyone out on a date, so I never went to prom in high school. The night of my high school graduation, I was like overlooking the Dobson High football field, which is where the graduation was, while freebasing cocaine. I was an absolute mess. I've had guns in my mouth and being suicidal and stuff. Life is a series of a lot of ups and downs. So as long as you don't kill yourself, as long as you don't completely destroy relationships, you can learn skills. Ambition is a capability. And so, with Genius Network, people come to the group not for who's in it, but for who's not in the room. So some people will sign up for things because they want to meet people.
But do you have functions that non-members go to? Or
yeah, the annual event that I do every year.
That's the one where you had Tucker Carlson and those guys come in?
Yeah. And this year I have other amazing people equally as amazing, but I'm not going to tell people who they are. And then every year they're like, why didn't you tell me they were coming out? And I'm like, well, you should have signed up. Then you would have known.
It's interesting. I was going to say, I feel like you're like one of the most authentic public figures I've ever met. Like, it's not like there's no bullshit. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool that you're
people
just,
say that to me, and it's funny. I have a hard time understanding that because I'm just saying whatever I say.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, you're not trying to be cool. You're not trying to be whatever. You're just you, and it's pretty damn cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, like, I'm really glad you said that. I have to ask you this, though. This is so random, but your partner that you talked about, you said she's an OBGYN? No, what is she?
She's a vaginal plastic surgeon, and she's an integrative doc.
Okay.
So she does, she's expert in peptides, exosomes.
But she's a vaginal
plastic surgeon.
Plastic surgeon.
Yeah, she does labiaplasty.
Okay, but here's what I'm trying to figure out, because I've gone to her before. Yes. I do not have a vagina.
Well, are you sure?
You did it one time. You got it.
You might have. No, but she has a handful of. It's really cool.
I thought I did something with my hair with her.
Did you?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember.
Well, she's collaborative with other plastic surgeons, and she also used to be a trauma surgeon. So she's done all kinds of procedures. She used to do breast augmentation, and a lot of it was breast cancer reconstruction. But it's such difficult work, so she now just niches, no pun intended, she focuses on vaginal plastic surgery as the only surgery.
Now remember, I think she injected my head with growth something. Because my hair, I was losing my hair.
Okay.
Could that?
Yeah.
It has to be.
Some sort of peptides or something?
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Okay.
But when you said that, I was like, wait a minute. That's not, I used her for something. But
that's entirely possible.
How long have you guys been together?
5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're freaking amazing, man.
Well, thank you.
I've learned so much from you. Like, I want to rewatch this podcast immediately.
Well, good.
Because there was a lot of information. Like when you said at the beginning, you're talking riffs, but your riffs are full of knowledge.
Well, good. I hope, and my whole thing is I hope it's useful. I go on a lot of tangents and I weave things around, but I usually try to close the loop. And what I will say, so we can wrap this up, is that if anyone's struggling with addiction, geniusrecovery.org is our, we don't sell anything. Eventually we'll have physical first aid kits for recovery that are going to be sold in pharmacies and stuff. Because
you can guide people to places to get
get help.
Yeah.
No one recovers. I've written 2 books on addiction recovery. I give more of them away than I sell. But no one recovers just from a book. That's a seed. It's a starting point. It'll help someone start their journey, and that's my goal. But someone, if they're really struggling with addiction, you need a plan. So it's an educational
services here that you recommend.
Yeah. And it depends on the situation. I even have a recovery clone. And if anyone has any marketing questions, I have AskJoePolish.com. It's my AI clone. And currently, we don't charge for it. People can ask, how do I write a consumer awareness guide? Because I'm
I'm going to be all
designer.
over that. I don't know how to write it. I spend so much money on social media ads for my radio show, and I don't think it's working. I've been doing it
Ask
for
my
years.
clone.
I will.
Seriously,
I will.
People are writing marketing plans using my AI
We'll
clone.
see what it says. Then I'm going to send it to you, and you tell me if it's a good idea or not.
Yeah. And also, you don't even know this. I own the ghost town of Cleator, Arizona with a couple of friends, 40-acre ghost town here.
Oh, really?
And people can go visit our ghost town. It's on the way to Sedona, where you exit where it says Bumblebee. And we have a big event going on there this weekend. The next weekend we have a
Halloween stuff?
golf tournament. Oh yeah, we'll have Halloween stuff there happening too. We just did a HGTV just featured us on Zillow Gone Wild, and it won the unique property of the season award. And then so I do all kinds of wacky stuff, but ultimately everything I try to do is about connection.
Well, if you ever need help promoting the Ghost Town events, it's right up. That's right up our alley.
I will talk to you about that. That would be great.
Wait, I want to go back real quick to something. I know we're wrapping up real quick, but I want to go back to Tony Robbins, because when you said, did you listen to his cassettes in the early 90s? Yeah. Because for me, when I first started in radio as an intern, a guy gave me his cassettes, and I listened to those religiously. Even at night, remember the cassette that had the music on it? It was a cassette that's just music. I would listen to that. It was supposed to be subliminal. And one day I'm at a restaurant in La Jolla at a restaurant, and this red Ferrari pulls up. And Tony Robbins is in the Ferrari. And I shit my pants. There's Tony Robbins. And he gets up, he stands in line to order food, and I start talking to him. And he was so awesome. And I was quoting his cassettes. Do you remember Kanai? Constant.
Oh, yeah.
So I go, Kanai, constant and never-ending improvement. Do you remember that? And he goes, yes, I made that up. I invented that.
Kaizen.
Yeah, I was doing all that stuff to him, right? So anyway, he invited me. He invited me to go to his Date with Destiny in Florida, and I went and spent 6 days there in West Palm.
Did you get sick afterwards?
No. When we
Half the people catch cold. Well, you know, I'm Not Your Guru, that movie.
Yeah.
I was in the VIP section the whole time of the filming. And I'm in 3 very quick scenes. I was so happy. I wasn't because Derek Hoff and Juliet, the dancers?
Yeah, I just interviewed him last week.
Oh, did you? Okay, so I'm dancing with them the entire time in the VIP section at this silly Date with Destiny event. And I'm going, where in the hell is this video footage going to show up?
And
I was like, thank God it's not that, it's somewhere. But
let me tell you, that documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, when he jumps into his cold plunge, do you remember that? He goes, cold plunge, 57 degrees. He jumps in cold plunge. I screenshot. I took a recording from another phone. I sent it. I was at his West Palm thing. My pool was being redone. I said, I want this exact same cold plunge. So I have the exact same cold plunge.
That is funny.
In fact, I did it before I came here today.
Yeah, well, and I have a cold plunge in my backyard. And you know why cold plunges are great?
Why?
And this is for a whole nother conversation. So my friend Anna Lemke, who wrote Dopamine Nation, she understands the biochemical aspects of addiction. So on mice, chocolate, 55% increase in dopamine. Cold plunge, 150%, sex, 150% increase in dopamine. Cold plunges, 200% increase in dopamine. Cocaine, 225%. Methamphetamines, 1,000%. That's why drugs are very addictive for people. But cold plunges are actually healthy dopamine. Unhealthy ways are continuously looking at screens, social media. So when you do a cold plunge, it's not just good for you physically, it's good for you mentally.
How long do you have to be in the cold plunge to get those benefits?
By the way, I'm not a total expert in this, although I have a lot of people that I've spoken with. 2 minutes is the magic number that Huberman and Wim Hof and people that are real experts in this speak to. So I've spent 13 minutes in 38-degree cold plunge, and that was tough. That was the longest I've spent. I've spent 20 minutes in 50 degrees, and I've spent 4 minutes in 32 degrees, freezing up to my neck. But if the more frequently you do it, and it's not about getting in the cold, it's integrating the breathing in the heat and the cold together. You kind of get
I do all that stuff. I did the sauna and the cold plunge before I came here to meet with you. I had to mentally prepare.
That's awesome.
I wanted to be ready. It's so great to talk to you. I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule, man. So thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Okay, so welcome to our podcast. This is a little bit different today because this podcast is a spin-off of our radio show.